And now we move forward into the congressional second session, and it's about integrating and stewarding the mosaic of public and private lands. And the gentleman who will be guiding us into this conversation is joining us from just down the road in Sandwich, Illinois. He hails from that area and had the great fortune of driving up Route 47 to join us this morning. He is housed really in Naperville as the president and CEO of the Conservation Foundation. And what he has explained to me is this speaks to the western and southern color counties. So not McHenry County, not Lake County or Cook. And a very appropriate thing to share with you is that he has been named one of the top influential environmentalists in DuPage County. So who better to speak with us than Mr. Brook McDonald?
My mic working? You guys here? Okay, great. Okay, well, whenever I come to McHenry County, I'm always amazed at your beautiful landscape, the rolling terrain, the wetlands. That's not from McHenry County. I didn't have any pictures from McHenry County, so I went to Google and I got this. But the reason I chose this is because this is what I think McHenry County looks like. Rolling terrain, a mosaic of different beautiful landscapes. And, you know, I live in Kendall County, and Kendall County's pretty. We have the Fox River, but I tell you what, you know, DuPage County and parts of Will County where we work, they're pretty boring and pretty flat. So it's really nice to be able to drive up Route 47 through Kane County up here at McHenry County to see your beautiful landscape. So what I've been asked to do is to help tee you up for your next conversation about the different mosaic of landscapes, how they're integrated, how they're interrelated, and the importance of stewardship of all different kinds of landscapes and how that's important to our quality of life. So there'll be two things that I'm specifically going to be talking about: the difference between working landscapes and public open space, and also then the stewardship and the funding of public open space. So working landscapes, we think of working landscapes as those landscapes that are mostly agriculture, maybe grazing, timber production, landscapes that produce commodities. They produce food, they produce fiber, they produce materials that we need in our society and materials that we consume. I assume everybody here eats, so if you eat, then you are very reliant upon the variety of working landscapes. Working landscapes also tend to have certain production outcomes or production metrics. I want to get so many bushels of corn or so many board feet of timber. So they have very specific metrics associated with them. Most working landscapes are private property, so you just can't go walk over a farmer's field without maybe getting shot. That would be trespassing. But so, you know, most of these working landscapes are producing things that are a commodity, and that's how the farmer makes his living. So even though they're not physically accessible, they certainly are visually accessible. And I don't know about you, but I think these rolling agricultural fields is absolutely gorgeous that you have up here. And I think it helps protect and improve our quality of life. Public open space is usually owned by public entities. Therefore, it is open. You can go hike. You can go physically walk in parks and forest preserves and conservation districts' lands. And unlike working landscapes, they're really very hard to measure the objectives. There are a lot of benefits from public open space, but really it's about our quality of life. It's about having a sense of place, finding place for peace and solitude, spiritual and physical inspiration, physical activity and exercise. But don't think for 1 minute that these natural areas and these public open spaces aren't working for you. They are also working landscapes. They're just working for you in a different kind of way. We all benefit from how these ecosystem services are provided to us. These natural areas and public open spaces give us clean water. They give us clean air. They act as natural flood control. They act as habitat for wildlife that we want to live and coexist with and see and watch. And they provide places for us to go play outdoors with our families and our friends. Whether you ever step foot in a conservation district land or a park or forest preserve, you benefit directly from them. Everybody benefits from these areas. There are also storehouses of biodiversity. There are genetic savings accounts. Who knows, the next cure of this disease or any disease may be found in that Mayflower, may be found in a plant that grows in our public natural areas. Each one is different, but each one provides us different things, and each one is important, whether it be the agricultural landscape or whether it be these public open spaces. What they do have in common is they both enhance our quality of life, our health, and our well-being. And they're not mutually exclusive. They're integrated. One flows into the next, but they both require care and stewardship to be healthy. We like to say open space is the ultimate tax cap. Open space helps keep our taxes from skyrocketing. Many communities are using the strategic acquisition and placement of protected farmland and other types of open space as a growth management tool. And if you've ever read these cost of community services studies, you know that agriculture especially, but also open space, draws very little public resources. In other words, it doesn't cost a whole lot of money to provide services to agricultural land. There's a good return on investment. Same with open space. Now, you will often have these initial upfront capital investments in open space, but those go away at some point. Now, compare that to residential development. Now, we all need places to live. We all need roads, right? So it's not, not all development is bad. But the fact of the matter is that historically, most residential development doesn't pay for itself. You're looking at studies that have shown that for every dollar that comes in from residential development, the local community is putting out $1.17 or $1.22. You couldn't run a business that way. How many people here live in communities that have seen a lot of growth over the past 20 years? Have your taxes gone down? So open space is the ultimate tax cap, and if you understand what the tax cap means, you understand what that phrase means. And there's absolutely no debate whatsoever that the public is willing to support open space and is willing to pay for it. Over the past 20 years, the conservative voters in all of the collar counties around Chicago have gone to the voting booth and have raised their taxes to the tune of $1.3 billion. And I said billion, $1.3 billion to pass open space and conservation ballot measures. Not one countywide forest preserve or countywide conservation measure has failed over the past 20 years. And they've passed during good times, and they've passed during bad times. They've passed during primary elections, and they've passed during general elections. And if someone had the audacity to put one up in November of this year, it would pass. People go to the booth and they say no to good things. They say no to schools. They say no to libraries. They say no to police. But they don't say no to open space. And many of these agencies around the Chicago area that have passed these referenda, and McHenry County, I believe, has passed 2. Right, Elizabeth? Kane County has passed 4 over the past 20 years. DuPage County, 2. Will County, 2. Kendall County, 2. Lake County, several. Even DeKalb County passed a forest preserve referendum. They are able to use some of that money for the stewardship of the land that they're able to purchase. So nature knows no boundaries. Nature could care less where the property line is. So the importance of whether it's preserved public open space or whether it's the adjacent farmland, nature sees them all integrated. Nature sees them all together. If there's habitat over on one property, that's where nature is going to be. So looking at the issue of healthy landscapes requires us to break down those boundaries and look at the whole system and how each different land use type contributes to the health of our overall landscape. And that includes the agricultural land, it includes the public open space, but it also includes developed areas. And we can't write off our developed areas. We can't say, well, that land's developed, I guess we can write that off. We all know of many examples where development has trashed the environment, caused flooding on adjacent land. A lot of farmers experience that too. But the question we need to be asking ourselves, and the question you need to ask yourself, is can we develop the landscape in a manner that doesn't trash the environment? And you have expertise in this room. I just saw Dennis Dreyer sitting over here. Okay, he's one of the experts in the Chicago area on how to do this. He's an environmental engineer. We know how to develop the landscape in a manner that doesn't trash the environment. There are examples now all over the region where the environmental condition can actually be improved through development. We just have to make that choice. We know how to do it. We have to make the choice to do it that way. Douglas Tallamby, in his book, Bringing Nature Home, talks about 42 million acres of mowed grass in this country. Turf grass. That's 42 million acres that could potentially be conservation and home type properties, using native landscaping, building rain gardens, butterfly gardens, and helping with pollinators and bringing wildlife and nature right up to people's front doorstep. I have a lot of farmers who are friends, and they like to remind me that the farmers were the first conservationists. And that's true. They've always been concerned about water, soil loss. It's their livelihood. They have to be conservationists. Farmers are our friends. And conservationists and the agricultural community, they have to work together. We all have to work together. I know that there are a lot of government programs that can enhance agricultural lands, a lot of conservation initiatives, the Department of Ag, NRCS, the Farm Bill, lots of money available to help farmers implement conservation practices on their land. And the whole sustainable local organic thing is really starting to explode. Our offices in Naperville are on a 60-acre organic vegetable farm. We lease the land to a farmer. He runs a community-supported agriculture program. He furnishes each week from June through October 500 families with a weekly supply of locally grown, organically certified vegetables. And he makes money and he employs people. And people are eating healthier as a result. And some of you may be aware that Kane County has a farmland protection program that actually is funded. And they've been able to strategically protect thousands of acres of farmland throughout Kane County, because they have a funding source which comes from the Grand Victoria Casino. But taking care of nature, taking care of our natural resources, it costs money. It's not free. Nobody has a free lunch. Just like it costs the farmer money to take care of his agricultural lands, it costs the public money to take care of public lands. You just can't go buy a piece of land and forget about it. Because, and as much as I hate to say this, sometimes nature makes bad choices. And so our job is to help nature and be a facilitator, restore as much as we can these areas to some sort of ecological health. Now, restoration is a confusing word for some reason. Some people actually take that literally. I mean, you can restore an antique and put it back to something. You know, nature's not a thing. Nature is a bundle of systems and processes that are always moving, always changing. Think of the word nature not as a noun, but as a verb. It's always moving and always changing. So we're challenged to make sure that people understand what restoration means as much as what it does not mean. It's this delicate balance between man-made and nature-made. And I think that there's a tremendous opportunity to engage more people in volunteering to help with our restoration, our stewardship activities. How many people here have been involved in a work day, restoration work day? You get to hang out in the woods with a bunch of other cool people. You get to breathe clean air. You get a lot of really good exercise. And you get to cut stuff down and burn it. I mean, who wouldn't want to do that? So not only are these restoration volunteer work days and restoration volunteers helpful to get the work done, but we're also engaging people. We're educating people. And now they're becoming more invested and more supportive for the work that we do. So to me, being good stewards of the landscape is really being a facilitator, not too heavily handed, but just enough to help nature help itself. Focus on those systems and processes. Restoration is less about the past, more about the future. And because the future is uncertain, and we're not sure what the climate's going to be like, we're not sure what it's going to be like here 200, 300 years from now, we need to make sure that we're focused on, one of my favorite words is resiliency. Because nature is a badass. And if there's one thing we know about nature, it is resilient. And as we help nature and our landscape become healthy, we need to make sure that it continues to be resilient for the future. So I hope you have a great set of conversations.